Good day, aspiring nurses. I am here to present to you about Betty Neuman and her Neuman system model. This is prepared by Demelin Baldado and yours truly. So, for the introduction, this presentation is divided into 7 parts, which we will be able to know the background of the author, the Neuman system model for its philosophical background, Neuman system model and its major concepts, meta-paradigms, sub-concepts, strengths and weaknesses, and lastly, its analysis. So, who is Betty Neuman? Betty Neuman was born in 1924 near Lowell, Ohio. So, her father was a farmer who became sick and died at age of 36. Her mother was a self-educated midwife that led the young Neuman to be always influenced by commitment that took her away from home from time to time. She had one older brother and a brother who was younger, which makes her the middle child among her siblings. Her love for nursing started when she took the responsibility of taking care of her father, which later created her compassion and her chosen career path. So, in 1947, she received her diploma from People's Hospital School of Nursing at Akron, Ohio. In 1957, she received a baccalaureate degree in public health and psychology with honors. She also earned her master's degree in mental health public consultation in 1966 from the UCLA or University of California, Los Angeles. In 1985, Betty Neuman concluded a doctoral degree in clinical psychology at Pacific Western University. In 1970, Betty Neuman designed a nursing conceptual model to expand student understanding of client variables beyond the medical model. So now let us proceed. Neuman drew inspiration on a variety of philosophical views in order to form her model. It is based on general system theory and reflects on the nature of living organism as open system, as interaction with each other and with the environment. So now let us proceed. Gestalt theory describes homeostasis as the process by which an organism maintains as of its equilibrium and consequently its health under various conditions. Adjustment is the process uses of the organism in order to satisfy its needs, and the ability to satisfy these many needs can lead to a balancing act, relating back to homeostasis. If this balance is not act, it may cause illness to the client or even death if the organism is unable to compensate. Marxist philosophy is suggested that properties of parts are determined partly of the large wholes within the dynamic organized system. Neuman confirms that the patterns of the whole influences awareness of the parts. Desjardins' wholeness of life also contributed to this assumption. According to Celia's definition of stress, the essence of stress is a non-specific demand for activity. Neuman uses this definition of stress, which is the non-specific demand for the body to any demand made on it. Stress increases per readjustment. This is not specific. It requires adaptation to a problem. Neuman also adapts the concept of Kaplan conceptual model and relates this to model to nursing. Primary prevention is the prevention of the organism before encountering harmful stressor. This involves increasing the client's normal defense to decrease the reaction to the stressor. The secondary prevention attempts to decrease the effect or possible effect of the stressor. That was early diagnosed and effective treatment on the symptom. Neuman also described this as strengthening the internal lines of resistance. Tertiary prevention attempts to produce a residual stressor, stressor effect, and return the client after the treatment. So now let us proceed. Neuman system model. Betty Neuman's system model described as a unique open system-based perspective that provides a unifying focus for approaching a wide range of concerns. A system acts as a boundary for a single client, a group, or even a number of groups. It can also be defined as a social issue. The Neuman system model presents a broad, holistic, and system-based method to nursing that maintains a factor of flexibility. It focuses on the response of the patient system to actual or potential environmental stressors and the maintenance of the client system's stability through primary, secondary, and tertiary nursing prevention intervention to reduce stressors. So now let us proceed. We will discuss about Neumann system model and its major concepts. So as we can see, this is the model format of the Neumann system model. So human being. Human being is viewed as an open system that interacts with both internal and external environment forces or stressor. The human is in constant change, moving toward a dynamic state of system stability or toward illness of varying degrees. Environment. The environment is a vital arena that is germane to the system and its function. The environment may be viewed as all factors that affects and are affected by the system. In Neumann system model identifies three relevant environments, which are the internal, external, and created. The internal environment exists within the client system. All forces and interactive influences that are solely within boundaries of the client system make up this environment. The external environment exists outside the client system. And lastly, the created environment is unconsciously developed and is used by the client to support protective coping. So now let us proceed to health. In Neumann nursing theory, health is defined as a condition of degree of system stability and is viewed as a continuum from wellness to illness. When system needs are met, optimal wellness exists. When needs are not satisfied, illness exists. When the energy needed to support life is not available, then death occurs. Let's proceed to nursing. The primary concern of nursing is to define the appropriate action in situations that are stress-related or in relation to possible reaction of client or client system stressors. Nursing interventions are aimed at helping the system adapt or adjust and to retain, restore, or maintain some degree of stability between and among the client system variables and the environmental stressors with the focus of conserving energy. Open system. A system in which there is a continuous flow of input and process, output, and feedback. It is a system of organized complexity where all elements are in interaction. So now let us proceed. Basic structure and energy sources. The basic structure or central core is made up of those basic survival factors common to species. This factor includes the system variables, genetic features, and strengths and weaknesses of the system parts of the client itself. So now let us proceed to the client variables. Neumann's views of the individual client holistically and considers the variables simultaneously and comprehensively. So these are the variables. The physiological variables refers to the structure and functions of the body. The psychological variable refers to the mental processes and relationships. The socio-cultural variables refers to the system function that relate to the social and cultural expectations and activities. The developmental variables refers to those processes related to those development over the lifespan, and the spiritual variables refers to the influence of spiritual beliefs. So now let us proceed to the flexible line of defense. So this is a protective accordion-like mechanism that surrounds and protects the normal line of defense from invasion by stressor. So as you can see, the flexible line defense of the picture is those broken line, and the effects of this are, well, we can see it is we drink alcohol when we are depressed, and also it shows that if we sleep very late at night, it is caused by the, or it is the effect of the flexible line of defense. So now let us proceed to the normal line of defense. So it is an adaptational level of health developed over time and considered normal for a particular individual or client or system. So the effects of the normal line of defense is exhibiting weird mannerisms and behavior, and periods of mania and depression. So now let us proceed to the last part of the major concepts, which is the lines of resistance. So protection factors activated when stressors have penetrated to the normal line of defense, causing a reaction of synaptometology. So as we can see, going back, so effects of lines of resistance weaken the immune system response and develop pneumonia. So this is when it causes this line, it will be so dangerous to the client. So now let us proceed to the meta paradigm. So nursing. According to Neuman, nursing considers all the variables of a person or the whole person. This means that taking care into accounts of clients' variances such as its current amount of emotional state, physical health, and psychological factors. As the caregiver, perception of the client influences the quality care they receive. Consisting the quality of care should be along with the individualized care plan. And assessment of the nurse's client perception should be performed, this would help out any biases and misconception that will influence the nurse-client relationship. Having a trusting and respectful relationship between the nurse and the client will result in a positive outcome. So now let's proceed to the person. The person is an open client system and also reciprocal interaction with the environment. The environment greatly affects the decisions and actions made by the person. The person in this case may be an issue, individual, or a group of people. That client system is also a multifaceted involving interrelationships among physiological, psychological, sociocultural, developmental, and spiritual factors. All of these factors are important considering a person as a whole. So now, let's move on to meta paradigms of health. So health is a fluid concept which is like a pendulum, a constant swings to wellness to illness in a back and forth motion. Neuman explained in order to reach an optimal level of wellness, the needs of the total system must be met. Thus, illness results from unmet needs of the total system. Let's proceed to the environment. So environment is defined as a influential internal and external factors surrounding the person. Internal environment includes intrapersonal factors affecting the client. An example of this is a client scaling its self-esteem and confidence. So the external environment may be interpersonal or extrapersonal factors, or any factors outside the client. This may be the experience of the client, which had such as experience of having a physical abuse as a child. And lastly, created environment is an unconscious supportive coping and usually interpersonal. a coping mechanism influences all systems and creates a buffering effect between the client and the environment or the stressors. Examples of this, or the example of this, is the use of denial in order to avoid the situation. So now let us proceed to the sub-concepts of Neuman's system model. So the sub-concepts. So first, stressors is any phenomenon that penetrate or might penetrate both flexible and normal lines of defense, resulting in either a positive or negative outcome. So there are three types of stressors. These are intrapersonal, interpersonal, extrapersonal. Interpersonal occur within the client system boundary, and interpersonal occur outside the client system boundary and have an impact on the system. And lastly, extrapersonal stressors is also outside the client system boundaries but are at greater distance from the system, that are interpersonal stressors. An example of this is the social policy. Next is stability, a state of balance or harmony requiring energy exchanges as a client adequately copes with the stressors to retain, attain, or maintain an optimal level of health, thus preserving the system's integrity. Next, degree of reaction, the amount of system instability resulting from stressors invasion of the normal line of defense. Next is entropy, a process of energy depletion and disorganization moving the system towards illness or possible death. Next is negentropy, a process of energy conservation that increases organization and complexity, moving the system towards stability or higher degree of wellness. Next is the input or output, the matter, energy, and information exchange between the client and environment that is entering or leaving the system at any point in time. Next is reconstitution, the return and maintenance of the system stability following treatment of stressors reaction, which may result in a higher or lower level of wellness. Lastly is the prevention as intervention. Prevention as intervention, intervention modes for nursing action and determinants for entry both client and nurse into healthcare systems. So there are three preventions. The primary occurs before system reacts to a stressor. It includes health promotion and maintenance of wellness. Also, primary prevention focuses on strengthening the flexible line of defense through preventing stress and reducing risk factors. This intervention occurs when risk or hazard is identified but before reaction occurs. Strategies that might be used include immunization, health education, exercise, and lifestyle changes. So let's proceed to the secondary prevention. Occurs after the system reacts to a stressor and is provided in terms of existing symptoms. Secondary prevention focuses on strengthening the internal lines of resistance and thus protects the basic structure through appropriate treatment of symptoms. The intent to regain the optimal system stability and to conserve energy in doing so. If the secondary prevention is unsuccessful or reconstitution does not occur, the basic structure will be unable to support the system and its intervention, and that will occur. So let us proceed to the tertiary prevention. Occurs that after the system has been treated through secondary prevention strategies. Its purpose is to maintain wellness or protect the client system reconstitution through supporting strengths and continuing to preserve energy. Tertiary prevention may begin at any point after the system stability has begun. and re-establish or reconstitution has begun. Tertiary prevention tends to lead back to primary prevention, as what Neuman said in 1995. So now, we can proceed to the strengths and weaknesses. Betty Neuman reports her nursing model was designed for nursing that can used by other health disciplines, which both has pros and cons. A strength, if multiple health disciplines use the Neumann system model, a consistent approach to client care would be facilitated. As a con, if the model is useful to variety of disciplines, it is not specific to nursing and thus may not differentiate the practice of nursing from that other disciplines. So here are some strengths of the concept. So strengths. The major strengths of Neumann system model is its flexibility for use in all areas of nursing, administration, education, and other practices. Neumann has presented a view of the client that is equally applicable to an individual, a family, a group, a community, or any other aggregate. The Neumann system model also, particularly presented in the model diagram, is logically consistent. The emphasis on primary prevention, also including health promotion, is specific to this model. Once understood, the Neumann system model is relatively simple and has readily acceptable definition of its components. For its weaknesses, the major weakness of the model is the need for further clarification of terms used. Also, interpersonal and extrapersonal stressors need to be more clearly differentiated. So now, let us proceed to the analysis. The delineation of Neumann's three defense lines were not clearly explained. In reality, the individuals resist stressors with internal and external reflexes, which were made complicated with formulation of different levels of resistance in the open system model of Neumann. Neumann made mention of energy sources in her model as a part of the basic structure. It can be more of help when Neumann has enumerate all sources of energy that she pertain to. With such new nursing intervention as to provision of needed energy of the client can be conceptualized. The holistic and comprehensive view of the client system is associated with an open system. Health and illness are presented on a continuum with movement toward health described as negentrophic and towards health or towards illness rather as entrophic. Her use of the concept of entropy is inconsistent with the characteristics of entropy, which is closed rather than an open system. So that's all for the topic of Betty Neumann's system model concept. So thank you for listening.